Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, July 28th, 2022, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. We have an awesome show for you today, a demonstration of 9+ SIMLAB Stages updates for Matterport digital twins with integrations for AEC. And here to discuss this topic with us, SIMLAB founder and CEO, Marek Kozlak. Marek, thanks for being on the show again.
Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Before we jump into today's topic and get some demos from you, could you remind our audience, we did a show 2 months ago, Introduction to SIMLAB Stages plus Matterport for AEC Design and Build Communications. That show is on Thursday, May 19th, 2022. We covered a ton of information in that intro, but for those who are just tuning in for the first time, maybe just to take a few minutes to talk about SIMLAB in particular and SIMLAB Stages, just kind of as at a high level before we jump into what's new.
Okay, on a high level, well, we are still a startup. That's how we like to call ourselves, technology startup. There is 30 of us. We are located in Europe, in Poland. And the founders and the core team of SIMLAB, we know each other for the last 18 to 20 years, and we are an expert in 3D computer graphics, mostly simulation, virtual reality, game engines, and creating immersive experience. So that's how we jump on top of the Matterport technology, and we decided to create our own tech that might bring added value for all of the Matterport customers, both the private and the enterprise level, where you can bring back more life and more features towards the Matterport experience.
I think you've undersold yourself a little bit there, Marek, because as I think of you, SIMLAB's not as a startup, but as an emerging technology company. And that as an emerging technology company, you're adding a huge amount to the Matterport digital twins. I think Matterport digital twins are interesting, but only because there's this overlay of SIMLAB Stages, as we discussed during our last show. Do you facilitate communications on steroids? And I think that's only probably immediately apparent to anyone that's watched that previous show. So I would encourage, if you haven't seen our previous show, go to the We Get Around Network Forum, wegetaroundnetworkforum.com. There's a search box to search for SIMLAB or SIMLAB Stages, and you'll find that previous show.
Well, so let me comment on that one, because thank you for those kind words. And that's always nice when people are talking good about your company and the work of your life, I would say it. But we call ourselves a startup because we were cooking this technology for the last 2.5, 3 years. Now it's ready, it's mature. We want to release to the market. We open it for the alpha test and first beta testers that actually work with us and help us to craft the solution. But we are launching our big tech right about now. That's why we are still thinking that we are a startup, although, as you said, we have 3 years of being on the market already.
Yes. So since we did talk about 2 months ago, is there anything you can talk about in terms of either the size of clients, the category of clients since that last show?
Yeah, during the last show, which was exactly 2 months ago, we just announced that, hey guys, we are here. This is our solution. We showed that solution. Please try it. Please work with us so we can learn from you if you like it, or if you maybe would like to have some upgrades, or how you think we should enhance the software. So since the 2 months, without actually any marketing campaigns, money spent, or like big announcements, today we have like 250 registered users of Stages. That gives around 200 Stages projects. And among those projects, there are actually some really, really good ones. We have skyscrapers. We have, this is very interesting from New York, we have a very expensive apartment on the, let's say, 50 floors next to the Manhattan, the main park. I'm sorry, I'm missing the vocabulary.
Central Park, yes.
Yes,
Central
with
Park,
the great view on the
yes.
Central Park on the 50th floor apartment, which is a full floor done in stages. We have airport in US, which is working with us, constructing the stages project through the renovation of one of the terminals. The people who build boats or yachts or like vessels are scanning and comparing the progress of the work in stages. Small planes from Czech Republic, there's a company which actually is building planes, and they are doing stages to see where are the cable laid out and how to find them during some kind of the very easy time lapse with our software. So office
it's interesting,
buildings.
but I would have thought that you'd have some enterprise size clients that would just immediately grasp Matterport plus SIMLAB Stages is super exciting at a global scale. Has that happened at all?
Yes, through our partners, we got into the contacts to a big brands that everybody knows from us, and we are capturing renovation of their offices all over the world using stages, where we are not maybe we are doing this, we are helping on the software side with this, but week by week we are adding stage by stage to our software, so they keep full documentation of the process of the construction, and some of them on the renovation within our software SIMLAB Stages.
And I would also think that a sweet spot for SIMLAB Stages plus Matterport would be commercial office spaces, multifamily homes, single family homes, and communities that are being built out. In the last 2 months since we talked last, have you had success where those categories of clients are using Matterport plus SIMLAB Stages?
Yes, a lot of private users. So I would say that half of those number is like a private users that just want to test it, playing with the Axis device and doing the Matterport scans on his
Matterport
own.
Axis, AXIS. Yeah, so
yes,
yeah.
But another half of it, this amount of this over 200 customers, this is actually pilots that we are driving, and most of those pilots, where you compare the typical characteristic project, it's office spaces and residential, as well as the multifamily buildings, developers. We call it in Europe developers, but it's like a home builders, and companies that are using this are monitoring the status of subcontractors on a construction site using stages.
And is this for commercial spaces that's new construction, for renovation? Is it for both?
Actually, both, although more of them are renovations, because it's much more easier to capture current status, not starting with the the hole in the ground or just the PDFs as the blueprints.
And in terms of other use cases, facilities management, issue management is
yeah, as you correctly remember, we have a very advanced issue management system built inside of the stages, and that's being also used to manage the issues and problems occurring in the facility. So very often, if there is a renovation needed and they already have a Matterport scan, they then are using stages to capture not only the geometry, what happened before and after, but also full workload and task management is also happening in stages. And this is something really, really powerful that we can provide.
Terrific. So I think that's probably a good just overview. I know that may feel a bit thin for some of our viewers because we haven't done a deep dive, but we actually did do a show, this introduction to SIMLAB Stages plus Matterport for AEC design and build communications. And so I'm going to assume for today's show that anyone who's super interested in Matterport plus SIMLAB Stages they'll go watch the first show and then watch today's show in as a recording. So we'll just assume that that's part of present knowledge, our previous deep dive demo, Matterport plus SIMLAB Stages. We did talk about that there's new updates for SIMLAB Stages regarding Matterport integration, specifically in the AEC space. So I thought it might be helpful. I'll name a topic, and then I think you have a demo or to talk about it. Number one, Matterport-Mattertag importer is now ready. That was something that you talked about last time was coming. Has it arrived?
Yes, and that's also a very powerful toolkit because it's coming from actual problem from our customers and our pilot implementators, because they already told us, hey, but we spent many of the hours placing all of the tags inside of the Matterport, placing them in the correct places, making the
This
attachments.
is Matterport-Mattertags.
Oh, I'm sorry for my shortcut. Yes.
No, just so I'm clear on that. So you have clients that are building out or tricking out Matterport digital twins with dozens or hundreds of Mattertags. And if you're asking them to work with Matterport plus SIMLAB Stages, they need a path for migrating their existing Matterport-Mattertags into the SIMLAB Stages platform.
Yes, some of them actually have hundreds of those per Matterport scan. So that was obvious for us that we need to put our efforts to make sure that they can transfer this easily towards our stages, and that process is supposed to be the less painful process they actually can have.
Is that something to demo, or just sufficient to say that, hey, if you have a Matterport digital twin and it's got hundreds of Matterport tags, it's super easy, super fast to import your Matterport tour into SIMLAB Stages and have the Mattertags move with your model into the SIMLAB Stages platform?
Actually, let's show that, that's pretty easy, pretty fast. And maybe when people will see it, they will understand that how easy it is just to transfer from one software, which is my Matterport dashboard, and it allows to do things, right? But it's on the edition mode. It's not public. It allows collaboration, privileges. In Stages, it's much more easier. You just do it in a couple of clicks only. Let me just show
let's
it.
Let's take a look at an example.
Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay, so we are in
your screen.
That's great. We are in the Stages dashboard, the same as you have seen 2 months ago. And let's let's take the first project that we have here. So this is our Stages on the left panel. This is description of each stages. So you see basically what's happening in that stages. So let's select like the mid stage, post demolition. And here's the notes which are happening and done in stages. This is our own software.
Yeah, so let's just assume we've seen this all, because we did a deep dive on this in our first show. You gave us a deep dive. So let's just assume it's just like a college class. We're at a 200 series class, if that makes sense. We've already taken the prerequisite course to come look at this.
So let's go to our control panel, which is stage info, of course. And here you have like a import Mattertags. That cannot be easier, like just import Mattertags. It loads the current Matterport model, the stage that you are in, and actually through our SDK connection to the Matterport account and Matterport model, you see all of the stages, actually all of the stages Mattertags listed in floor 1, floor 2, the one which are a little bit gray color. It means that they are already imported because they were selected by the user that they are important. Right now, I just open it and I see here echo worm panels. So let's see what's this. You see some kind of the description. I see rock wool component here. Okay, so it's the pile of the rock wool pallets here. So if I want to import those two with this description and everything that you spend your valuable time in the corporations to fill in the data, you just select this one and that one, and you can say that you can import this as the issue or as the information boxed only. And if you remember, the issues got status option if it's pending, in progress, resolved, or unresolved. But
Yes.
because it's just a pure text, so let's put in information data, and then when you're gonna import selected, import, that's basically it. You can filter those tags by colors, by all of the things that you have already spent a lot of time in the Matterport, but the process is actually done. So if you're gonna go and exit importer right now, you see now it's gray as well. So that means it's gone from the list. So if you're gonna go and back to the nodes system, you see that this rock wool panel, it was added by me today to that project, as well as the EcoWarm panels. And when you're gonna click it, of course, it brings you back to that particular place in stages with that information box in here. Of course, here I can add more data, which Matterport-Tags do not hold, like change it, for example, to the issue right now, and I can add this, that it's pending issue. I can add signed Robert to that one and say to Robert that please move this since the floor people are coming today.
Yes, and again, this was demoed at length in our first show, so I'll ask you to take it off screen share. I think that's actually sufficient, and I just want to add one scenario to that before we move on, because I could imagine that in the AEC space, before someone had heard of SIMLAB Stages, they might have said, well, we're going to use red Mattertags to show an issue. We're going to use blue Mattertags to show information. And they color coded in a logical way something that maps perfectly to your menus of info, pending, in process, unresolved, and resolved. And so while you may be tempted to move all Matterport-Mattertags in one move, if you have done it in a granular way where you were showing issues or information or something that was resolved, you literally can map that to SIMLAB Stages.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, that was super easy and super fast. So that was awesome. Number two, brush toolkit for adding comments to screenshots.
And this is the one that I love the most. Why? It's because a lot of people that had a little bit more computer skills, or they were like a BIM managers, and they were using a desktop version of Stages. They loved painting and brush tools on the construction side to actually line up problems, to make notes on the walls. Actually, if you're gonna go to the construction site, you will see a lot of notes done with pens on the of the actual walls, and this is what was missing to our customers. So that was pretty much complicated to do it web, to do it online, to do it on Matterport 360, again, panorama pictures. So we made this process, again, very, very simple. And if I'm gonna just do a small demo, I will just show you how great it is right now and how easy it is, and a couple of clicks only. So if you see my screen, we are back on the rock wool pallets here, which are in the context of the room like this. So we are in that particular issue. Actually, it was information node. Now I change it to the issue management system. So look what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna add attachment. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that model, which I don't have to be there. It's just model delivered to me by service agent. And then I select my camera on those, my viewport on those rockwood pallets. I say, move it, please. Take a screenshot. And now you see the small control panel here, which is coming. Let's select a red color. I will notice like this. And I will take this node. And that particular brushing, it can be on the walls, it can be over the objects, it can be whatever information you want to add to it. it's being added to my note. So Robert right about now is being informed about that particular issue that I line up visually just using my mouse. But if it's on a tablet, I can just use my finger and make any kind of the comments about all of the issues I see and I can notice inside of the Matterport walkthrough. So for example,
for clarification there, Marek, if I'm on site and I'm using an iPhone or an iPad, can I annotate in a similar fashion that you just said, take a snapshot? And
yes, you can, but with our system, it's pointless a little bit, because if you are on the location, you just use a camera inside of the iPhone to do the picture and then attach it to the node. But if you are staying in front of your desk and you want to communicate with the teams on the construction site, this is what you do. You add a new node, you add a place like assign new location, you put it here, you select you say that you don't like this hall, so you change to the issue, you say that it's in progress, you assign a person, and then you can create a screenshot of this particular hall, like hall to fix, take a screenshot, then you take a color which you like, select like that, and that's a node that is being synchronized in a couple of seconds.
Yes, that's awesome. So for clarification, if you're on site, yes, you can obviously use your smartphone or tablet to take a photo, and you probably are already annotating pictures anyway, and you just upload that to the platform. But where this feature that you're describing right now really excels is when you're not on site, but you have the benefit of the Matterport tour, you can essentially take a picture as if you were there and annotate it. And I think, just to add one thing, and you may have taken it for granted, but I believe you were zooming in and out when you were working on this.
Yes, I did, because of course, using a full resolution of the Matterport camera, you can actually have a pretty detailed screenshots of the issue, because it can be leak, it can be moisture on the floor, which you can identify like this and then attach to node and share it immediately with all of the collaborators.
Okay, awesome. Anything else to show us on the brush toolkit for adding comments to screenshots?
Yes, let's add the comment, because for me, this is the package. You just created a picture and then you record audio. Of course, I was showing this 2 months ago, but let's say, hey guys, you've missed this hole in the wall. Please fix it as soon as possible. Then you add a hole in the wall. You put it save, and it's going to the same library under the same node. It's going to the same person with much more data that he can actually understand very intuitively what we expect from him. And once he picks up the issue or the task to be solved, then he can make a comments, and all of this is being recorded as the project data, which is happening here. Of course, I did not put the name of that node, but this is being recorded and captured and documented, and there is no excuse. I did not know about this, or it's not my job.
Awesome. So maybe come off screen share for a moment. And number 3, email notifications for notes and their status changes. You sort of really were already demonstrating that as you did in your brush toolkit.
Yes, that means that the person that I have assigned to that particular problem gets instant notification that there is a task connected to that particular project.
Okay, so what changed in the last 2 months was every time a note is done and you're either named in that note or you're part of a group in that note, you're going to get notified that a change has happened.
Yes. Up till now, you needed to log into the software. You've seen it in your dashboard as the new modifications. Now it's going directly to the email to have a fast communication and action.
So now SIMLAB Stages works like you would expect it to, with that notification of anything that affects me.
Yes, it does.
Number 4, high, medium, and low quality switch for 3D models desktop.
And that's actually coming from the corporate customers, actually not customers, it's our colleagues, partners, and friends today, which help us to create that software, because they had a problem. They had a problem, meaning is that they are working with a BIM data. They are working with 3D models. And unfortunately, Matterport-Mattertag can take even hundreds of megabytes, but usually it's even 1.5 gigabytes of data if you download the OBJ model from it. So that's a huge models, and to of course download this model, synchronize it on the cloud software, exchange those models, copy projects to different computers. That was massive. If you scan
So let me see if I understand the problem that you're solving. Is I'm on site, I'm using my iPhone, and all of a sudden this ginormous model's coming up, and I barely have Wi-Fi, or I barely have 5G. It's too clunky and slow to look at something, and so you're providing perhaps the viewing experience based on the device, or maybe if I'm on a desktop. And
we give an option for the user to actually choose between the quality of the 3D models that they can use, to reduce 1.5 gigabytes of data to 50 megabytes or 300 megabytes, depending on the high quality, medium quality, or low quality of the textures and geometry that is being captured as the 3D data. That means
so the trade-off may be I'm on site and I don't have a lot of connectivity. I might want to have a lower quality model, such as a CAD file, maybe FBX, SLA, OBJ, etc., presented to me in a lower quality while I'm on site, just so that I can, from a practical sense, actually look at it. And then perhaps if I'm back in the office and I'm on a desktop, and I have my super fast connectivity to my desktop,
the computer,
then I want really the highest quality pushed to me, because the speed is not going to be an issue perhaps back in my office.
Yes, and also performance of the hardware, because if there's 1.5 gigabytes of data for one stage only, that's a massive computing power needed on the processor, but also on the graphic card.
And maybe if I'm home and I don't have that kind of supercomputer sitting on my desktop at home, that maybe the medium quality would be sufficient. But I love hearing that the user is actually in control of what level of quality, and they typically could do that based on their connectivity, size, screen, and speed of their processor.
Yeah, so maybe let me show it to you. I will just run this time a desktop version of Stages. And this is one of the projects. So maybe let's start from the basic ones. So we are here on the blueprint. And this is something that you can walk through the blueprint, make a notes. And this is things that I would like to show you why we are so excited about using a desktop version, maybe in a couple of minutes. But with Stages, I click next arrow and I'm in the Matterport 3D model. So you see, this is Matterpack from OBJ data. It's a very, very detailed data, but this data for all of the building takes 1.5 gigabytes of memory. So it's a massive model. For reducing this data, you would probably like to select much more advanced features here. And you see here, there is like this small grid, which has got H letter next to it, which means high quality. You can reduce it to medium and low quality. So that means is that if I'm gonna change it to low, it reloads the model and the textures for the model. So you see the progress is coming here. And when it's done, the quality is not so good, but the walls are still there. So maybe you see that the quality of the texturing is not perfect, but it's still the wall. So to reduce to improve the performance of the hardware, it's pretty good to use those models if you are not so much about the good quality and the aesthetic value of the engineering project in this moment. And
So,
that same is for the BIM data, which we have here, but this data is much more easy and much more nice to update. And of course, this low quality data, as you see here, it's always in compared to the Matterport beautiful picture. So if you want to have aesthetic, you can always switch to the panoramas and you are in the same model, the same place, but in the Matterport experience.
Pause there for a second. Just stop for a moment, because when I look at this screen here, this is where I see that adding SIMLAB Stages timeline, just one feature of SIMLAB Stages timeline, adds such huge value to the Matterport digital twin experience, because now you're making it super easy and super fast to go to fly through time, whether it's the blueprint where you started, the object file for the scan data, to the Matterport 3D tour in week 3, the Matterport digital twin in week 4, the Matterport digital twin in week 5, and to always be in the same place with the same view. This is why I look at SIMLAB and go, oh my gosh, SIMLAB adds huge value to the Matterport ecosystem in the AEC space. And we're only talking about, looking at this screen here, one of the SIMLAB features, the timeline feature. We haven't even talked about the whole range of communications that we discussed in our first show to make communication and collaboration so powerful. But Marek, I look at this screen, and you've made the SIMLAB team has just made it so much added value to a Matterport digital twin. This was the conversation we had in that first show, where I said, wow, this is like Matterport on steroids. And actually it's on steroids times 100 or 1,000, because you can go anywhere on that timeline for BIM, CAD, Blueprint, Matterport, and now the addition of, and what resolution would you like to look at it based on what device screen size you have, what internet connectivity you have, and what firepower you have in your processor. So I just wanted to say congratulations to you and the SIMLAB team, because you're making it super easy and super fast. I'm sure this is hard work to actually make this happen. But from a user standpoint, I just can imagine that the old way would be, now where's that other model, or where's that blueprint? And this just like is so disruptive in a good way of adding a huge amount of value to the Matterport ecosystem. Congratulations.
We keep everything here in one control panel. So if you are talking about that particular date, which was 19th of June 2019, well, all of the things, which is blueprints, which is the Matterport 3D model, 3D geometry, it's in one place, captured, and full life cycle of the building with this timeline is being given to the homeowner or facility manager to control what's behind the walls, what's inside the walls, where are the pipes, where is the electrician installation being done, and everything is visual. So no engineering knowledge is actually needed to locate an issue or the connection pipe inside of the wall structures. Everybody can use it. So this is actually, you see, Of course, I can show there is more advanced things, more advanced options, but this simple timeline is the biggest value of the Stages product, which allows everybody without any technical knowledge to use it. And right now I'm in the Matterport model. Again, I can switch it to the 3D model. I can switch it to the CAD documentation. I can switch it to the blueprint of the same facility. And that's for everyone to start using. No excuse that I don't know how, it's too complex, too complicated. Everybody have this toolkit right now available. And even so, if you're talking about the professional companies, well, look at this. Does it look like a software similar to many ones and very expensive and very powerful? So let's say that we have a 2D blueprint. We don't have a Matterport data yet. So we have a 2D blueprint. And right now on this 2D blueprint, I can create an issue. So let's not change the names or whatsoever, let's just place it. So place a marker and place an issue like, for example, on this window. I'm sorry, it's very it's very high resolution on my screen, but I placed a note here. I can change the color maybe to unresolved, so it's red, so you see it's here. But same time on that blueprint, I can add a small modifications. Let's take a blue color. So let's mark our issue in that place. Okay, let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's put a red color. Let's put it here. Let's make an arrow here. Let's say fix it. So I think that you have seen similar software which are doing such a things on a professional EAC market. Now everything in one package without any technical knowledge to use it. You want to use blueprints? This is how you do it. You don't want to use the blueprints. You want to use a 360 Matterport view. You can do it from that point. So you can be actually here and you can put the same note on a captured construction.
Yes, I'm not going to let you get away with something here. Marek, you said SIMLAB Stages, single most important feature is the timeline. And as important as this timeline is of making it super easy, super fast to move through, fly through time, BIM model, Matterport, object file, blueprints, SIMLAB Stages has so many useful, interesting features, just like you were demonstrating. And you did a whole, like this whole previous WGAN-TV Live at 5 show on communications for identifying info pending, in progress, unresolved, resolved, and mashed up within this timeline. So you can go, well, gee, we're looking at the Matterport space like right now. I thought we identified this issue with that contractor, back 2 weeks ago in this same very space. Why are we not having this So there's so many things that SIMLAB Stages has going on that adds huge value. As excited as I am about the timeline, I think we just have to say timeline is just one of those things to get super excited about. Communications is something in its entirety to get excited about. Ease of use, so that anybody without any technical experience this is totally intuitive of how to fly through space and then have a conversation about a point in space in a particular point of time. Anyway, yes. I've digressed. I really want to get back to our list, but I'm super excited, for SIMLAB. Number 5, project location by integration with Google Maps.
That was a pretty good call from one of our customers as well. He said that, hey, Marek, we have number of projects. I need to go from place to place, and I want to put it on the map. I have projects 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 500. Let's locate them on the map. I want to share the project with the issue management system in it, with the task description of my construction team, but I also want to have a subcontractor know where to get to that particular place. So in here, in our control panel in the dashboard, there's an option about the information which supposed to hold address. If it does not hold address, then you go to the edit info, and then you can select where this place is located. So for example, it picks up my location. So hello everybody, but let's put our office. So it's Gliwice. So the Google, of course, helps us to select that address. I can put confirm, and now this address is assigned with this location, but also we moved to the Google SDK, which allows you, as you see, modify the address by the geolocation. So if you're gonna drop and drag and drop the pin, it actually picks up the address from the map. So if you identify yourself as the location, it will brings the address to the model. That was asked by our customers, and since we work fast, we implemented this feature. So all of the projects right now can be placed on the map as well.
Yeah, I can imagine if you're an enterprise client and you have hundreds or thousands of spaces across the United States, around the globe, you might forget where your building is, or perhaps you're building a new building and Google hasn't yet assigned an address for exactly where that building is. So the ability to move the pin and push pin and put it exactly where that location is. Anyway, it just seems like, oh, that's an awesome feature. Yeah.
That was very obvious for a lot of our potential future customers and today pilot alpha testers. So we just said, yeah, that makes sense. Let's put it into it. And today we have it.
Number 6, transfer of notes between stages. And we have a note web and desktop. Transfer of notes between stages. So this sounds like we're talking about Matterport notes as opposed to SIMLAB notes.
Yes, SIMLAB notes.
Help us understand the difference and then what that transfer is about.
Well, Matterport has got their own Matterport-Tags. It's got Matterport nodes, which are still a little bit of the experiment system. And we at SIMLAB, we have communication toolkit. It's Matterport-Tags on steroids, and Matterport nodes on steroids. It's a library container. It's a communication channel. So it's much, much more. And we had a very, very good case study. So maybe some of our potential viewers can be inspired by this. I will go back here to our stages, which was the desktop version, to maybe show how he asked us to work with stages. So imagine that you are a construction company or quality assurance company, and you are getting to the facility that already exists. So if that's the case, so let's move to the beginning of the stages where you have just a blueprint. And this particular customer, I'm sorry, I clicked too many times. And this particular customer had asked us that, well, I'm going to the building. I have 1 day inside of the building, and actually there is no Matterport, there is no scan, there is nothing in the building yet already. So I'm starting from the blueprint. And this is basically what I showed you. Now I created this node, and he wants to have from the facility owner just the blueprints so he can scan it, place it inside of the stages. He wants to make all of these marks here and identifications on site inside of the project, like creating the issues and so on, having no Matterport data at all. And then when he will identify all of the problems, all of the service that he needs to do to the building with the pictures, with any kind of the documentations he got, he can place it here as media, photos, videos, audios. And then once he starts scanning the facility during the construction, he can transfer that node to particular stage in the project. And as you said, if the issue is not being solved and we already have a couple of more scans happening to the facility, we don't want to forget about the issue from like 2 months ago. We want to transfer it and make it active in the most current stage. And this is what we are thinking about, the transfer of the nodes in the different steps between the timelines.
So if you're using Matterport brand notes, it's super easy to transfer Matterport notes into the SIMLAB Stages notes, which is really more of a robust communication platform than it is just note-taking.
Yes, and if you are a construction company, you have no Matterport scan at all at the beginning. You need to do pricing or like a quotation for your customer, or you identify the issues on the first control visit of the facility. You can just use a 2D blueprint, make all of the notes in that blueprint, and then once you are during the construction process, transfer those notes to particular stages or models on the next steps on the timeline.
Awesome. Number 7, custom branding.
Yes, a lot of customers said that's a great toolkit, and we would like to rebrand it with our own logos. We will allow that in the next couple of weeks. So today it's possible, but we want to make it more advanced. So you can rebrand the front page of the Stages software and put your logos, put your contact details. If you are a value-added reseller, or if you are providing services for your own customers, to rebrand the software for your own needs.
You mentioned value-added reseller. Why don't we call that number 8? Do you have any value-added resellers of SIMLAB Stages?
Since 2 months, when we have launched information about Stages in the Matterport environment a little bit, a lot of partners and Matterport distributors but also construction companies are calling us saying that we would like to distribute your software. So yes, we are launching a value-added reseller program, but the big announcement about one big partner node by all of us, who actually is negotiating with us conditions of the reseller program, will be announced in the next couple of days.
So today is Thursday, July 28th, 2022. By the end of August, SIMLAB anticipates an announcement of a value-added reseller that's very large, of a name that we'll all recognize.
Oh, yes. And we are very, very happy because of that, because actually the big corporations do see value in our software, and that makes us very much motivated that we are on a good tracks.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So I presume if someone's watching the show today and they're interested in being a value-added reseller, they should go to your website, SIMLABINC.com, fill out the contact us form, and tell a little bit about their company, and a member of your team will reach out. Number 9, I have this word, freemium. Pricing?
Yes, we have pricing dedicated for our consumers, our commercial partners. The pricing is gonna be announced as well in August this year. So please wait for it. But the pricing is gonna be very good news, because it's gonna be very affordable for all of us. Of course, there's gonna be enterprise plans, but everyone who actually wants to try Stages will have an option to use a kind of the freemium demo version, so to test and to tweak and to play and to get engaged with the software free of charge, just to test it and see the values of the software.
So I'm a Matterport service provider. I want to be able to take Matterport plus SIMLAB Stages for a spin. There's a freemium tier that would let me do that at no charge, so that I could understand, get my hands around SIMLAB Stages, so that when I go out to a potential client, perhaps it's an architect, engineer, construction, AEC, or commercial space, maybe it's facilities management, I can actually understand the value proposition of Matterport plus SIMLAB Stages, of how that adds value in order to get that scanning business, and that for that client to go, oh yes, I get it. That's a robust tool. I see the value in that. And so as a Matterport service provider, as an example, I could go play with SIMLAB Stages with one of my Matterport spaces at no charge.
Yes, if you want to take the software for a spin, there's going to be an option. You can always try it. We encourage you to do it, as well as we promise to release as much as we can a public available demo case studies, which is going to be published on forum.
We Get Around Network Forum, WeGetAroundNetworkForum.com. So we look forward to your team sharing SIMLAB Stages case studies in the We Get Around Network Forum for clients and verticals. Number 10, public demos.
Yes, we work with the consumer data, sometimes very secured data. I'm sorry, I'm missing the word here. It's not public, it's very secret data of how
one of the challenges is you have clients and they're involved in construction of buildings. They don't want their data to be shared publicly. So you have a little bit of a conundrum of, okay, great, we have 200 plus clients today that are banging away at SIMLAB Stages, but we're a bit thin perhaps on being able to actually show examples, unless one or more of those clients come forward and say, yes, you can use our space and all the annotation that we've done and the timeline that we've done in order to show spaces. So I'm going to guess you probably still have a solution to help enable that, because the magic of being able to experience Matterport plus SIMLAB Stages is probably being able to go into a model and actually manipulate SIMLAB Stages on something that's already been fully documented. Are we close? Is that sort of kind of where you're headed?
And we promise to publish public links to the projects at least once a week, so you can always treat them as kind of the inspiration how you can use Stages and how all of the feature works. And that's something that we are launching right about now. So everybody who wants to try it, you can set up your own project, but we also be going to be sharing some templates that you can treat as the tutorials as well.
Awesome. Marek, was there any topic that we hadn't discussed that you wanted to talk about, SIMLAB Stages?
Well, we are starting distribution of this great software to the market. So we are in a very, very good relations with most of our customers, which we actually have a direct contact to. And we would like to invite everybody to start using the software. And we promise that as the company and our engineers will help you to guide you through the process if something is not clear, to make sure that you take as much as it's possible from that software and experience.
Terrific. I would add also, if you've watched the show, but you haven't watched part one, today's show really is part two. Part one, Introduction to SIMLAB Stages plus Matterport for AEC Design and Build Communications. We did that show on Thursday, May 19th, 2022. I highly encourage you to go to the We Get Around Network Forum, WeGetAroundNetworkForum.com, go to the search box, type in SIMLAB Stages, and the show will pop up. It's a really deep dive into all the features and benefits of SIMLAB Stages. I did that show with Marek. Also, just a month ago, we did a sister companion show, because you have a whole nother, SIMLAB has a whole nother value proposition related to Internet of Things. We did a show, Introduction to SIMLAB Simon plus Matterport for IoT integrations with KNX, SmartThings, and Fibro. I did that show. My guest was SIMLAB Simon product manager, Mikhail Zopa. That's an awesome show. It's related. If you're interested in Internet of Things, go watch that show. We recorded that on July 23rd, 2022. Marek, thanks again for being on today's show. Super excited to get your latest update. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Dan, I hope that next time we're going to meet, we're going to be able to show exact project from our customers. So let's keep fingers crossed that a few weeks from now, we'll be able to publish much more beautiful content of our customers live on your TV, or at least at the forum.
Awesome. We've been visiting today with Marek Koźlak. Marek is the founder and CEO of SIMLAB, based in Poland. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, based in Atlanta, and you've been watching WGAN-TV live